Hey fight fans, today in this video, former UFC light heavyweight champion Jon Jones has a surprise for Cyril Gan. Jones also believes that Gan will be opposed by forces with which he will not be able to compete. Most of Jones's colleagues agree with him and believe that Jon Jones will knock down Gan, sit on top of him, and then finish him off with some ground and pound. But there are also those who are severely doubting this. For example, UFC featherweight champion Alex Volkanovski. So we're going to see why Alex Volkanovski doubts this. And former UFC heavyweight champion Stipe Miocic is very upset with the organization because of the fight between Jon Jones and Cyril Gan. He believes that the UFC has done him wrong. Also later in the video, the UFC has officially announced the rematch of Kamaru Usman and Leon Edwards as the main event in London on March 18th. The co-main event will be another crazy fight between Gaejhi and Rafael Fiziev. And then lastly, the UFC has decided to finally destroy the career of Petr Yan and threw him to the wolves. Or was it just very bad work on his manager? After 2 defeats in a row, why was he given such a strong opponent? Well, we're gonna find out, so let's start in order. But before we start the video, I want to ask you to subscribe to our channel. There are already more than 40,000 subscribers and our goal is to reach 50,000. So we kindly ask you to help support us. Thank you so much in advance. I truly believe with all my heart that God himself has chosen me to be the unbeatable fighter, Jon Jones told MMA Underground. I truly believe this with all my soul. To win, you need to beat not only me, but also the Lord whom I serve. I don't believe that I was made to fail. I can have close fights, but I really don't believe I can lose. Now that's a pretty big statement from Jon Jones.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who Jon fights. Jon, whoever you can put whomever you want in front of him. He's gonna beat him. So it doesn't matter whether it's Gan, whether it's Stipe, whether whomever it may be. They're all in trouble with Jones because he's a different athlete. He's a different animal. We all have to accept that there's a reason why he is truly the greatest of all time in the sport of mixed martial arts.
And as you all know, on the account of the 35-year-old, there is only one defeat on his record, which was actually a disqualification, which he suffered in 2009 in a fight against Matt Hamill when he used an illegal elbow. Now, a few years ago, the president of the UFC tried to officially change the result of that match, but the Nevada State Athletic Commission upheld it. So what do you guys think? Is it true that Cyril Gan has no chance of defeating Jon Jones?
I think Jon beats everybody.
There's not a man on this planet who beats Jon Jones.
Wow.
When you are at that elite a level, when you've never been defeated, you have one loss, it's a bullshit loss, everybody knows it's a bullshit loss. He really should get his record clean.
Former UFC middleweight champ Robert Whittaker is confident that Jon Jones will take Gan down, sit on top of him, and finish him off. Jones's wrestling is top-notch, Whittaker revealed in an interview. No one is close to showing in the octagon what Jon Jones can do. That's my opinion. Now, if you look at his stats, you can see that he can easily take down people and then ground and pound them. And in the stand-up, he also works really well. He's one of the best of the best. Plus, he also has the best cardio. And Jones possibly has the highest fighting intelligence. So he will see your weak spot and take advantage of it. But UFC featherweight champ Alex Volkanovski believes that Jones has never dealt with such high-ending punching techniques as Gan has. In terms of distance work and Gan's mobility, I don't know if Jones has such high-end striking technique. Although Jones is a natural light heavyweight, his wrestling is at the highest level. I think he will beat most heavyweight fighters, Volkanovski said. Volkanovski agrees that this will be a very interesting fight, and even he cannot wait to see what happens. And Jones is preparing a surprise for Cyril Gan. The contender for the vacant UFC heavyweight title won't reveal his weight to anyone until he steps on the scales ahead of his fight against Cyril Gan.
How big will you be, Jon? Do you know what you'll weigh on fight night?
Yeah, I do. I want Cyril to see me for the first time and it be a nice surprise to him.
He said in an interview with John Morgan. Former UFC heavyweight champ Stipe Miocic is frustrated with the Jones-Gan fight. Stipe reveals, "I was offered a fight with Jones in March. I accepted, but in the end, they gave it to Cyril Gan," Miocic said in the next edition of the MMA Hour. "I'm not a matchmaker, and I can't tell you why. I don't know. They just went in a different direction, and they told me that maybe they will assign me a fight with the winner in July." So which fight would you like to see more? Jones and Miocic, or Jones versus Gan? Write your thoughts down in the comments. And moving on. The UFC has officially announced the rematch between Kamaru Usman and Leon Edwards as the main event of UFC 286 in London on March 18th. Now, initially, the fight was in doubt after Usman was diagnosed with a hand injury, but the ex-champion did not back out of the fight. As you remember, the last time they did fight each other was in August of last year when Edwards sensationally knocked out the champ, taking away his belt. The co-main event of the fight in London is going to be a lightweight bout between Gaejhi and Rafael Fiziev. And also we have one more crazy fight awaiting us in March as Petr Yan will be fighting Merab Dvalishvili. This will be the main event of UFC Fight Night 221 taking place on March 11th in Las Vegas. This fight will take place 1 week after UFC 285 and 1 week before 286 in London. But many are sure that the UFC decided to finally destroy the career of Petr Yan and threw him to the mercy of the crazy Georgian. Or was his manager just doing a bad job? I mean, come on, after 2 defeats in a row, they couldn't find him an easier opponent than Dvalishvili? Dvalishvili also has 2 defeats in a row, but Merab rebooted his career and has since won 8 fights in a row. Of those victories, 1 stands out with a stunning win over Jose Aldo. It was undoubtedly one of his most celebrated triumphs against one of his greatest rivals to ever step foot in the octagon. And as Dvalishvili's success continued, the UFC began to see him as a legitimate threat to Yan's position at the top of the leaderboard. Now, if Petr suffers a 3rd loss in a row, what's going to happen to his career in the UFC? Normally, they tend to cut fighters. I personally don't think that'll happen. I think he still has a few more fights on his contract, but the man was a champion. He is a strong and purposeful fighter, and he is very interesting for the UFC. But if Petr Yan wants to get the belt back, he needs to defeat Dvalishvili, and it's not going to be easy. So I'm sure that we're in for a great month of fights.
Like I said, man, like to fight Petr, it's not only fight for me, you know. Like he's from Russia, his country occupied my country, and then 20% of Georgia, Russia has occupied, and then Russia versus Georgia, even it's a sport. This is not only fight for me, and this is I tell you, to lose any other opponent, I'll be honest, it's like it's a fight and whatever, but to lose against the Russian, this is big deal for my country, and I don't care win or lose with other fighters, but with Petr and with Russian guy, I tell you, it's a big problem.
So that is all for today. If you liked the video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel because it is very important to us, and thank you all in advance.